for quorum, but it's the last thing on the agenda that needs like a vote. So.
Okay. So kick off, and then if we have quorum at the end, we can do the board reappointments, but if not, we'll just table that for the next meeting.
We approve an agenda minutes without a quorum? Just skip the, yeah. Yeah, okay. We'll skip to public comment. Right on through that.
And we do have a visit from Rhino today. Want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Nick Welch. I'm one of the owners of Rhino Renewables Solar and Electric. We're Asheville-based solar installer and electrical contractor. Came today to talk a little bit about CPACE. I know you guys discussed that at the last meeting, so I watched the recording of that, and we're excited to hear you guys discussing it. CPACE is one thing that I've seen. I've worked in several states across the country over the past 15 years. It's been a program that I've seen really be a driver for commercial solar development in other states. So we're super excited to see that it's now a thing in North Carolina, and we're hoping that Buncombe County adopts it. We have been pretty tight-lipped about it just because it's not rolled out yet, but we do have a few clients we've talked to about it that are very interested, and we think that we could develop some projects pretty quickly if it became adopted. As you guys know, or probably know, a lot of the incentives for clean energy are evaporating right now, especially in the residential sector, and will be as well in the commercial sector. So this is something that could really help us develop projects with that environment going on.
Thanks for coming.
Yep. Probably take off after that. I know you guys are talking about wastewater. Good luck with all that. And everything else. But, yeah, please feel free to reach out anytime. We've been in contact with Jackie, and happy to help put our heads together on any of this stuff.
And where did we left it, we were waiting on getting a little bit more information on it, and then it would be, was a resolution then the next step that we would take, is that one?
Yep, that's exactly right. So it's a pretty boilerplate resolution, help me with the acronym, the EDPNC, I'm sorry. FEMA has put too many acronyms in my brain the last 10 months. They've already got sort of a template built out for a lot of that stuff. It would require us to adopt a resolution. One thing that's positive about that too is that any of the other jurisdictions in Buncombe County would sort of automatically be opted into the program as well. We're going to go ahead and adopt that resolution as well. We've also, had some preliminary discussions with our tax office and most folks that would have a role in participating in the program. So, yeah, that's really it. It's a resolution. That's kind of it. We opt in, and it's a state administered program. So the bulk of the lift is on them, us. It's not a particularly heavy administrative burden.
And I think we were waiting on them to, are they not looking for a nonprofit partner to help administer it, or?
So EDPNC is
They are okay.
They are the administrator. Really what we were waiting on is just additional guidance and details on the rollout, on specific role that the government's going to play, whether or not they've got financial partners already on board, and frankly, just to see if any projects, and the first one actually has happened. There is a CPACE project in North Carolina, the very first one. Is it Gaston County? I can't remember where.
Yeah, Gaston.
Yes, Gastonia, yeah. It's a multifamily residential complex. In this particular instance, the CPACE was not used to do the project. The CPACE was mostly used to refinance the original construction loan to get a better deal. So in that way, it's not necessarily additive. It's projects that happened already anyway, but they were able to get a better financing rate by using CPACE.
Yeah.
But whatever, it's beneficial still. If it encourages that kind of thing, it's serving its purpose.
So we have a few projects just like that coming up in 2026.
Yeah.
They probably could have made use of CPACE, but multifamily housing projects.
So I think our next meeting is November, since we're okay, so would that timing be okay? I mean, like, do you think you have the information by
I'm gonna be
then?
happy to bring back more information to you guys, and we can have a more robust discussion and see where we're pushing.
And then the timing of that would be okay to do it, if we decided to do a resolution at
Yeah,
that time?
resolution is the easy part.
Yeah.
Honestly. So. Happy to bring more to you guys.
Yeah, maybe let's check in before the November meeting about timing's right. Sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, we have one another public.
Yeah, okay.
I'm gonna stand, just like I'm hiding back there. Hi, everyone. My name is Rachel, and I'm here representing Sunrise Movement WNC. So if you're not familiar with us, we're a youth-led movement trying to fight climate change. So good to see all of you. I've met some of you, not all of you. So something we just wanted to bring up, the general topic for future mulling is that when it comes to cutting emissions, we all know that transportation is the biggest contributor to our emissions. And yet it's a tough space. And we've noticed, dare I say, been a little saddened by recognizing that public transit seems to not be prioritized much at all in the county. And we see that as a really, really important part of addressing climate change that right now we're kind of just leaving on the table and not dealing with. So clearly that's a long-term thing. But I think it's important to start conversations. The city is right now doing a comprehensive operations analysis of their transit system, and they're looking towards future development, what that might look like, reissuing the RFP for their transit management contractor. And the county, it's all kind of from our perspective. So we just want to bring that to you as something that we hope we can have future conversations about. Also on the transportation side, obviously you guys are a little more active in the EV space, although maybe not as much as we would like. We have brought to you an example of an ordinance from another county in North Carolina that requires EV charger capable spaces in new parking developments. We've sent it to several members of the commission who work on these issues, so we're hoping that can be something we get under consideration as well as we think about really paying attention to the sector that contributes the most to our emissions. So thank you so much, I appreciate it.
Thanks for coming. Okay, any other public comment? Digitally or otherwise? Okay. Maybe we, now that we have quorum, maybe we'll go back and approve agenda. Is there a motion to approve today's agenda? We've already done.
So good.
Okay, and adopting previous meetings minutes.
So good.
Okay, we'll do both of those at once. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Awesome. Next, we have Renee, Watershed Project.
Yeah, so this is my first time presenting to the committee. Thanks to Jennifer for inviting me. So do I get to sit here and talk from my seat? Wow. So relaxed. Okay, and then I
Stand up and go over there.
no, that's okay. That's okay. And then I share my screen so those on Zoom can see. Oh, this is different. Okay, so, okay, so share, so you can touch screen or the application windows. Right here. Okay. Share. Yeah. No. All right. Okay,
Oh, yeah. So before you start, I'll just remind you why we have Renee here with us today. So if you recall, we had, the Clean Water Fund. So we had $100,000 to invest in actual project work to improve water quality. And RiverLink was one of our applicants who we funded at $25,000. The other applicant was the city of Black Mountain, or the town of Black Mountain. They had some storm-related delays, so we've extended their contract out, but they will be back to share with us their project in the future. But Riverlink has completed theirs and is gonna give us a report.
Yeah, all right, so here we go. So this project we call Disconnecting Downspouts to Reduce Runoff. I'm Renee Fortner, I'm the Director of Programs at Riverlink. A little bit about Riverlink, if you're not familiar with us, we're an environmental nonprofit focused on both the environmental and the economic vitality of the French Broad River watershed. We've been around for about 30 years, and our home base is in the River Arts District. So with the Clean Water for Buncombe grant, the Clean Water Fund, the premise behind our project was the fact that there are roughly 96 miles of impaired streams. So these are streams that fail to meet water quality standards in Buncombe County, and that's according to the state of North Carolina's 2022 303D list. They just released the draft updated list, and I haven't had a chance to run those calculations, but I don't think any Buncombe County streams came off the list with that update. And so there are several impaired streams in Buncombe County that have watershed action plans. So these are plans that have identified sources of pollutants, the causes for impairment of the streams, and proposed actions, projects, initiatives to address those water quality issues. And for several streams, so that would be Smithville Creek in West Asheville, the Upper Swannanoa. There's 2 streams in what we call the Central Asheville watershed, so that encompasses most of downtown Asheville and the River Arts District that are impaired. And those watershed action plans identified stormwater runoff as a major cause of impairment for these streams. Stormwater runoff, you all probably know this, but stormwater runoff is basically precipitation that flows across our rooftops, driveways, parking lots, streets. Rather than soaking into the ground, it flows over these hard surfaces and it picks up pollutants along the way, including bacteria, oil and gas, sediment, which is the #1 pollutant of concern for the French Broad River. And all of that water in our urban areas makes its way to a storm drain, and those storm drains are piped to the nearest stream, untreated. So stormwater runoff is a big cause of water quality issues in Buncombe County streams. The volume of that runoff causes our streams to be flashy and causes erosion. And stormwater runoff can contribute to nuisance flooding in our urban areas when that large volume of water overwhelms our municipal stormwater system. And a lot of runoff comes from our rooftops. It's a major contributor of stormwater. In a modest 1-inch rain on a 2,000 square foot roof, you're generating around 1,200 gallons of water. We did some math looking at Buncombe County parcel data and calculated the total square footage of rooftops in Buncombe County. Land of Sky helped us with this. And then we took the average amount of rainfall for Buncombe County in a given year to find that there's 8 billion gallons of roof runoff in Buncombe County every year. That's not to say that every rooftop is draining to a storm drain, but a lot of them are. So we see rooftops as a source of stormwater runoff, but also kind of the low-hanging fruit in terms of places where we can address that runoff. It's not as easy to do this, in parking lots and streets. So this is what led Riverlink to propose this project to address rooftop runoff. This is just a graphic showing what 8.6 billion gallons of water looks like. It fills 13,000 Olympic pools, and that would span all the way across North Carolina. So our downspout disconnect project, we also refer to it as reduced roof runoff to better explain what it means to the general public. Buncombe County kindly gave us $25,000 to redirect roof downspouts away from storm drains and impaired streams, and instead reroute them into rain barrels. People could use that water for their lawns, for their gardens, or rain gardens. So we had two options for homeowners of Buncombe County. We also received $50,000 from the Community Foundation of Western North Carolina that served as match for this grant to fund a public relations campaign to raise awareness among Buncombe County residents about the negative impacts of stormwater runoff and provide resources on how they could take steps to reduce runoff on their property. I'm not going to talk about the results of that grant today because I don't have time, but we got a lot of media coverage over the course of that year-long campaign, and it also drove folks to our reduced roof runoff program that this grant was funding. So what did we do with your water? With your funding? We targeted impaired streams with existing watershed action plans. So that's Smith Mill Creek, the Central Asheville watershed. That's made up of two streams, Bacote Branch and Nasty Branch, along with the Upper Swananoa. We offered free rain barrels for low-income residents and a 50% cost share for others, which ended up being only $35 per rain barrel. Retail value, these rain barrels are around $125, so it was a really good deal for residents. We mailed 500 postcards to residents in those targeted watersheds. So this is the postcard. We really tried to capture their attention, capture rainwater and save money on your water bill with a free rain barrel. And that would take them to a QR code to our website where they could fill out this interest form and they could tell us if they were interested in a rain barrel, a rain garden, or both. This form gave us their address and contact information, and to determine whether or not they were eligible for a free rain barrel, we used Buncombe County's community index map. So we would Google their address and then we would cross-reference it to the map, and if they fell within one of those, I forget what it's called on the map.
Census tracts, maybe?
A census tract where residents might not have access to all of the resources that they need. It's phrased, I think, something like that. Then we said, hey, congratulations, you're eligible for a free rain barrel. We did site visits to see where, okay, do you have gutters that you can connect the rain barrel to? That was very important, but then also where are your gutters draining to? Because we were targeting rooftops whose gutters were outletting onto a hard surface that then drained to a storm drain. Some people's gutters, if they live adjacent to a stream, are piped, directly into a stream. In the town of Black Mountain, they lack, areas of Black Mountain lack this below ground municipal storm sewer system. So instead, those downspouts will drain to a ditch or a swale that conveys that water to a stream. So we would confirm that it was a good site for the program. And we asked residents if they needed assistance with installing their rain barrel. A lot of people took us up on that offer, so our staff went out and installed rain barrels. It was a lot of fun, as you can tell from our smiling faces there on the right. So at the end of the day, we distributed 133 rain barrels to residents in those impaired watersheds. We were able to give away 33 free rain barrels, 100 cost share. We installed 2 rain gardens, and we disconnected a total of 123 rooftops. Our goal was 100 rooftops, so we exceeded that goal. And with that, just want to thank you all again for your generous support. Put a plug in for maybe future Clean Water Fund grants. And I'll take any questions that you might have.
It's all done in 2024.
into 2025. We wrapped up in June. And we did have, yeah, I mean, we had to hit pause, you know, with Halloween. We had rain barrels in a warehouse on the Swannanoa River that got washed away. The vendor that we buy our rain barrels from, they're a small family-owned business. They're based in Durham. The rain barrels are made out of recycled plastic. They're fantastic, but they replaced that pallet of rain barrels for us for free because they're good people.
So I have rain barrels, but I've always understood I had to empty them when it gets below freezing.
Yeah.
So where does this water run during the winter?
So everyone has their gutter attachment, so they'll just disconnect the rain barrel and then reconnect that piece. And so then it's, yeah, in the winter it will go either onto their driveway or, but not everyone's gonna, like locally, you can get away without disconnecting your rain barrel. You don't wanna let it get full. And so then if it freezes and it's, you know, can crack, but like not everyone's gonna disconnect their rain barrel this winter. I mean, we gave them guidance on how they could do it, and that they should keep the rain barrel from getting full over the winter. Yeah, that's a good question.
And you said it was 123 homes?
I think, yeah,
133 rain barrels.
133 rain barrels. So some
133.
people had more than one downspout that was going to the storm drain, and so they got 2 rain barrels. Yeah.
So as a follow-up, I know we get a lot of our precipitation as tropical events as the heaviest, or these thunderstorms that we're getting now.
Yeah.
But in the wintertime, do we have heavy precipitation events at the same level scale?
It depends on the, I mean, I would think not, but it probably depends
So
on the
it's
winter.
less of an issue.
Yeah.
We don't empty our rain barrel in the winter. We just let it go down and it freezes, but as long as it can expand up, we don't worry about it. And if it, yeah. We haven't really we've had ours for 3 years. We haven't really had a problem with it overflowing in the winter, but I suppose anything's possible.
Renee, how would you characterize the level of community interest? Is there,
Very high,
yeah, so there's,
especially in rain barrels.
so you'd say there's plenty of people to go back to if you had one.
Yeah, yes.
Which area of this 123 homes, like, kind of do you have a sense of how they were spread out, like Swannanoa versus over in?
I was thinking about that when I put this presentation together, that I need to break it out based on watershed. You can see where most of the rain barrels went. I haven't done that yet.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. And so were you able to help everyone that did go ahead and reach out to you?
I mean, some people signed up and they weren't in one of those targeted watersheds, but they were in Buncombe County.
And as a follow-up to that, that was a requirement for the Clean Water Fund, that they had to be in an area that had a watershed action plan. Our cooperative extension also sells rain barrels year-round every year. And so if people couldn't qualify, do you sell them as well? Do you outside?
We do not, but we do refer them to the
Yeah.
master partners.
So we do have those available at our office. People can come pick them up. And they're the retail, I think that ours are 125.
Okay, well, thanks for my last question is a little unrelated. I'm curious if RiverLink is thinking about applying for hazard mitigation grant program in the state.
I don't think they're eligible.
We're not eligible.
That's local government.
Nonprofits aren't eligible applicants.
No,
Never mind.
we would if we could.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Christie, how are we doing? Yeah.
Fantastic.
C and D.
Let's do it.
What's that? What is that?
I have no idea. We're gonna figure it out together.
I know there's a rusty car. That was wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks for having us. I'm Christy from the Solid Waste Department with Dane. We're going to talk about construction and demolition waste diversion. Just wanted to remind everybody, we were all here together a year ago talking about this, and everything changed. So I'd like to talk about what we were able to do before the hurricane hit, what we're working towards now, and just kind of share with you some of the progress we've made. So just a recap of last year, we were able to hire a solid waste inspector. We were not able to pilot sort materials at the landfill. We were busy handling hurricane debris, but I have exciting news about that coming up. We do continue to collaborate with the local permit office. So overwhelmingly, 2/3 of this we've actually completed. So green check marks on a lot of these items. We have some benchmark materials I'll talk about shortly from New Hanover. We have reduced our daily C&D capacity at the transfer station, which is going to help diversion for C&D. We have rejected large demos. We have increased tip fees for undesirable waste streams. That's the mixed load ordinance. And we continue with the outreach. So almost everything we've done or are making progress on. So I'm happy to report that. So what are we doing now? So the landfill accepts source separated construction and demolition debris for recycling and reduced or free rate. What do I mean by source separated? That means it is already separated at the source, right? So at the job site or at the business or at your home, you are pulling these pieces out and putting them in their own dumpsters so that we can give you a reduced fee at the landfill. When they come in mixed, that's where the mixed load ordinance comes in, right? So you've got your typical C&D waste mixed in with 75% cardboard. That's when the mixed load ordinance will kick in. So we really want to promote folks to bring in clean material that we can recycle that's not mixed with waste. So that's what we're doing at the landfill. Again, reducing the daily acceptance at the transfer station so that we can get more of those loads to the landfill has definitely helped. We are at 25 ton per day cap at the transfer station. We have noticed that when the transfer station does not accept as much C&D material, we get higher diversion rates, just because we have outlets at the landfill for all this material, right? The transfer station is very small and it does not have a way to accommodate a larger footprint to separate these materials if you arrive at the facility and want to recycle the box and the white goods. And I'll talk a little bit more about that towards the end. And we do want to strengthen our enforcement of the mixed load ordinance. That was a big goal for us a year ago. We've been delayed, but we want to jumpstart that again. So right now with what we're doing, these are our current C&D diversion rates. At the very top is total waste in that went into the landfill. And then we have 4 materials that we target that we have local reliable sources for recycling, right? So concrete, yard waste, metal, and cardboard. And you can kind of see the tons of each of those over the years. FY20 was a good year. We had almost 20% conversion. That was right before we opened the C&D side at the transfer station. So that's what helped inform us on capping those daily tons at the transfer station. We did have some low years when Duke demoed their steam plants. A lot of that could not be recycled and it went to our C&D landfill, killed our numbers. But right now we're at 19.4%. If you look at yard waste all the way over, we're at 7,200 tons, which is exponential from historical. That's due to the hurricane. So I wouldn't count on that 20% always, but it does show you that we have the potential. So overall, we're 12, 13% on average with current programs the way they are. And looking forward, so we were not able to do our own staff pilot waste characterization, but we will be doing a more robust, detailed study starting next week. We're going to have STS staff members on site to visually characterize our waste coming into the C&D landfill. She will be there for 3 days. Then she will move to the MSW landfill.
so I can see how much C&D debris is moving into that landfill. And then she'll get the transfer station the following week, specific to that C&D side, to see what is getting dropped at our facilities that are not source separated, so we can kind of be better informed on how we can focus on the materials we know we want to recycle more. We have benchmarked New Hanover County's C&D recycling facility, so we could certainly look at creating or utilizing one in the future. And then again, continue to explore options locally for materials that we don't have a reliable market for locally right now. So for future opportunities, we do have the waste audit that'll help inform us of materials we've got coming in that are mixed. Evaluate potential for a facility down the road. That'd be a significant capital project. But part of that waste audit is going to be finding spots that we have available at the landfill for laydown areas where we can pull materials out, or any other chance of diversion that we can think of. That will also be part of that study. And then yard waste and clean lumber, we know we have potential there. We do take yard waste now. We know we get clean lumber in mixed loads, so trying to figure out how we can work towards finding an outlet for clean lumber if it's not just in our yard waste. And again, mulch. The yard waste is turned into mulch at our landfill, and that will also be used in our compost facility whenever it opens towards the end of the year, if we're lucky. So market, yes, sir.
Sorry, I don't know, now's a good time to just tell us more about that compost facility.
Sure, the building is up.
Okay.
We are waiting to run power. Right now, I think we're in, French Broad is needing us to sign something to get underground power. We were working on buying the preprocessor. So the infrastructure to the building, we're still waiting for, but it's all moving.
It's gonna process like diverted compostable waste on site.
Yes.
Is that roughly the idea?
Yes, it is still a pilot scale, so we're restricted on a regulatory basis of how much compost we can feed into it. Right now, it's going to be just the food scraps collection that we have all throughout the county. I think there's 6 libraries or so now that collect. That would be the feedstock. That's about what we can process initially.
What should I be picturing? Is there any sort of mechanical operation here, or is it a
It's a pile with forced air into it, so it's going to be an aerated static pile compost facility. So I don't know if anybody's familiar with Henderson County, but we're mirroring their program with ours. They've had good success with not bad odors and being able to process it on site. Same scale pilot, right? But it is a forced air system. And then it'll cook for so long, then it'll get turned in another bay, and then ultimately have compost. We intend to use that on site for soil amendment on the landfill, so we can get some good grass to grow on some of our bad performing slopes, and then see how we go to expand it from there.
Yeah, and I'll just add to that, to recall that, that composting facility and recommendation came from the first waste audit that we did that looked at MSW waste. So we did that a number of years ago, and we had the COVID curveball, the lean curveball. But from that recommendation was to divert compostable materials. And so now we're doing that same type of study for our C&D waste and hoping we're going to have a good recommendation on that, how to divert that. So these waste audits are really it's where you get all your good data and can really make some good decisions.
And then for consideration, future market development would be required to try to get more diversion in the realm of shingles and sheetrock. We had a really great sheetrock recycling program back in 2016 when DOT first started accepting asphalt shingles in their mix. But then plants couldn't melt it down, or they had contamination issues. The whole market went away. It is now starting to get some more steam again, not in our area unfortunately yet. I'm hopeful eventually it will. There is an asphalt plant in Eastern Carolina, it's a long ways away. But they do accept the shingles for processing for DOT. So hopefully one day it will be back in our region. And then sheetrock is another material we know we have a lot of, we just don't have a really good local outlet for it. But you can use it as an amendment in commercial compost, bigger system than what we're looking at the landfill with our compost, but potential for down the road. And then we're benchmarking New Hanover, so that's over on the coast of the Carolinas, and they have their own C&D recycling facility. You can see it right there pictured. It's a whole acre of flat land that they have. It's very nice. They invested in that back in 2014 at $1.8 million. The operating costs are about $19 per ton. They have had staffing issues. They hired temporary labor to hand sort stuff on the line underneath the roof there where you can see where the conveyor belt. So they're pulling out the materials they want by hand. That's about the only way you can do C&D. The magnets aren't like a MRF for your curbside recycling, for example. It's a lot of hand sorting. But they do have a 65% recovery for those that get dumped in that spot and then get on the conveyor and separated by hand. Their target materials, lumber, metal, white goods, sheetrock, shingles, cardboard, and aggregate. So we have all those except the shingles and the sheetrock, right? So just a benchmark for New Hanover. They have markets nearby that they can use, which helps them get the shingles and the sheetrock. Moving forward, action items. Again, the C&D waste audit, data analysis, they'll come out of that, see what we can focus on. Securing any outlets or laydown areas for materials that we might want to pull out. Again, we get 500 tons a day at the landfill, so our folks pulling stuff out is not realistic, but looking at what is realistic. And then continue to enforce our mixed load ordinance so that we can get people to put an extra dumpster at the job site for the materials we want to recycle, and then evaluate any other capital project options that may come with that study. And that's all I have for today.
So on the mixed load ordinance, when you were talking about the different dumpsters at the side, do they just really need two, one for any of the items that we're trying to recycle can go in one and then everything else in the other, or do they have to break out each of those recyclable items?
That's the real struggle, right?
Because that's the multiple dumpsters.
It is, yeah, the footprint of it is, at a job site is a lot.
Yeah.
When shingles was a program, that worked really well because they could throw all the shingles in one dumpster and it filled it up. But, cardboard, a small little dumpster, scrap metal, brick, block. Yeah. To your point, it takes up a lot, and that's one of the challenges we have.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, it's tricky, and you remember we spoke with SIBO, we made some rounds on the mixed load ordinance, and we really targeted markets that we have locally. All trash is local trash. Markets vary. Like Christy was saying, New Hanover has access to markets that we don't. So we thought, okay, clean wood, we know we can process.
Mm-hmm.
Metal, revenue's there. Cardboard, same thing. So those are some of the material, and what's the brick, inert debris, brick, that's a half rate tipping fee. So those were the ones we focused on. Now, is there a possibility to do more extraction, more removal, more diverting out of loads coming in? There is. But what this study is going to help us show is the type of money we'll have, the county will have to invest to expand on those programs. Market development is going to be required on some of that stuff, like Chris was talking about with asphalt shingles and the drywall. There's things theoretically we hope that we can help drive markets on, but we just don't know. So that'll be future conversations. And, to your point about job sites, the mountains, that any job site's tricky, especially in our haulers, right? It's hard to get one dumpster in some of these places. So it's really been a lot of communication, like with the Griffins of the world, a lot of feedback, but, us talking about how they communicate with their customers to say, hey, this is what's expected at the job site. You have to separate this material out so that, we're not having to pass through a larger tipping bill to you. So definitely ongoing efforts there. But this study should help as far as some of the areas we want to focus on.
And then just long term, I know we just approved to go ahead and have to start construction for the next C&D.
Yes.
And obviously that's sooner than we had anticipated, I believe. But so kind of just remind us of the long term. Where are we after we do that new site? What kind of
Capacity
do we have?
Well, this is the last horizontal expansion for C&D side. So MSW, we look at the master plan, we're in cell 7 of 10 cells. Cell 7 is the largest, so they get a little small on the MSW side. But on the C and D, this is the last horizontal expansion. Christie, what are we thinking, 4 to 5 years on this last? So phase A should get us 4 to 5 years on our currents right now. If we can expand on programming and do things to draw that out, that's obviously beneficial for all of us. Sybil mentioned it before, C and D material can't go into MSW landfill, but all that does is short life for MSW landfill. So those are all considerations that we're looking at right now. There's a little bit of vertical expansion, but it's minimal, Chris, when we tie phase 8 in.
Yeah, I think we've counted for.
Yeah, it's basically cap and close at that point. And if it were to be justifiable that we have a more robust C and D sorting processing facility close to that area, that's probably what that would look like. Incoming loads coming to that general area with C and D, that being sorted, processed, and going out to markets from there potentially. There'll always be a need for landfill because we're not going to be able to divert 100%. No, not really close to 100% from all these things. But yeah, the more we can expand, the longer we can drop life on landfill.
Okay, so C and D lifespan from now until that building gets closed out, it's basically 6 years?
5.
Oh, just
I would say
5
5
years
years.
from now, just 5 years, okay,
Yes, ma'am.
5 years. And then remind me what the lifespan is on the other part of the landfill?
Yeah, we just did the annual capacity. We estimate around 17 to 19 years, approximately.
There are things we're looking at internally that we'll bring to the table at some point. Continue at the site, but we're not anywhere close. We do have internal room we're gonna look at.
It's big as well.
Just to be clear, you anticipate proposing to construct something like Hanover has for a sorting facility, or are you just kind of?
I think we're gonna study the feasibility of it.
Okay.
Yeah, what's the trade-off, Commissioner? Because it's, obviously it's gonna be expensive. We'll know the cost roughly to operate a facility like that, what the revenue potentials would be. But that other outlier is, what is that space that you say worth, right? Those cubic yards of space that you're diverting, you're not using that landfill space. So that's all part of the calculation that we'll bring more information to this group and then we'll commission how that flows.
And what are,
It's gonna be expensive.
yeah, I was gonna say, I'm feeling
Very-
less and less confident that that's
Very expensive.
going to be a viable option. What are some other options that you've seen that you're aware of?
Education is a huge thing. That's something that we want to continue pushing, is making sure folks understand where the recycling markets are. We talk about the materials that come to our site. Well, we've got bit wire and metal. We've got Riverside stump dump. We've got curb. We've got all these local processors that are key in diversion to our market. So making sure that folks understand what the options are, making sure they understand how to avoid these additional tip fees, right? And thinking ahead through their jobs as they're in the pre-planning, pre-construction phase, what area, how am I going to get these extra dumpsters in? How am I going to focus on, when my cabinet package comes in, that I've got room for all the cardboard that's coming, right? If it's a metal fast track job, the metal studs, the scraps, all those things that sequence in a construction project, those are the things we're working with up front, like with Bob Haynes and permits and seeing what opportunities we can explore there as well.
Curbside just acquired American Recycling in Candler. They have a huge footprint warehouse. Not that they would offer up their building for our C&D sorting process, but there might be discussions down the road to partner with them at some point. Maybe commingled recycling makes more sense for their facility, but shifting something over to them in a partnership could free up space at another facility of ours that could potentially look at conversion transfer station. So we're thinking about everything, just don't have anything yet to report back.
I think, Commissioner, like Sybil said, with compost, we'll start with a pilot. Maybe there's a phased approach that we look at as well. My vision is a massive concrete slab, but processing equipment, I hate by nature because you're always working on it. It looks looks great in that picture, but you're always turning wrenches on. If it's down, then are you able to secure labor to actually pick and sort through lines? I like more of a slab with barricades, different material, and then operators running equipment.
Passive.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. To me, you know, you build more flexibility on an operation like that and more control. But we'll see what information we get back with our partners and engineers.
Are recycling markets a significant revenue piece for you?
Can be, and they can be a significant cost. Right now, curbside has had to go up in 3 months about $40 per ton.
Really, the only thing that's a revenue is cardboard. Everything else is the cost.
Yeah, and so that pendulum's like this, right? For a while, we were getting almost net, net revenue, yeah. But basic, so, because we get the same rate that SCC does when we take our material from transfer landfill to Kirby. Well, now that processing fee's up in the 50s and 60s again. So it's volatile markets, commodity markets are bad, they're volatile. But we still continue to invest in it. We still keep recycling for residential as no charge. Like we believe in it. Obviously, commissioners, county believes in it, even though it is expensive.
Since you mentioned food waste, have you considered having an educational program for home composting? So we got into it a few years ago because we're gardeners, but the challenge is figuring out how to do it and where to get we had to get the cans and the countertop cans online. You had to get the composting bins online because they're really, the ones you get at gardens are meant really just for yard waste. So you don't stumble across it like you stumble across the rain barrels at Lowe's. And so what it is that you can even do it, how you can do it. And once we started doing it, we had neighbors coming in for parties, they're just like, what's that? And then it started expanding.
Right.
So I think not everybody's gonna do it, but there are a lot of people who are gardeners who might. So that would be something, if you could put out information about that you can even do it, where you get the supplies.
That's great feedback, and I think that's something we can, so I know Cassie's done some outreach on that, but we'll definitely look at doing it.
Refocus and
Yes.
re-advertise.
So for a while, we had that program more often. Somebody was giving out those little compost.
We still do. It's
Yeah.
great if you sign up for that food scrap program where you use our food scrap collections at the library, you get a kitchen tote when you sign up.
Yeah.
So we have, our garbage cans are almost always nearly empty.
Oh, yeah.
It's just, just the animals, the meat.
Right.
It's true.
Right.
Yeah.
I think you're right. I think it's the kitchen counter device or receptacle is the hard part.
People don't even know about it.
Yeah.
We just started asking the question, like, well, how do you do it? And it took a little digging and then. I've never seen the kitchen counter device at any place locally here or when we lived in Maryland, which is where we started it.
Yeah, they're not in retailers, you're right, you don't see them.
Yeah, so you have to tell.
That sits in the kitchen itself.
It's nice looking stainless steel, brushed stainless steel can. It has, an activated carbon filter on the top that you replace periodically. And so when you're just working in the kitchen, you just throw the stuff in there. You talked about fruit fly mitigation. There is times during the summer we just have to empty it, more often, but you just take it out into your yard composter. And
I thought you were talking about something that actively composted in your house.
No.
Not just collection, sorry.
No, it actively composts out there. We have a yard thing that we rotate. We actually put yard waste in there too. Because it likes the mixture.
And Bob, just, our extension does education around that, and they do programming through Buckingham County Extension around.
So if you're tied to extension, the majority of neighborhoods are not paying attention to extension or knowledgeable of it. So, more farming people.
Oh, did the master gardeners then? Master gardeners, they're not really ag focused. Master gardeners are the folks that are doing all kinds of education for home gardening and lawns and all that.
Yeah, I'd still say you're hitting a smaller percentage of people who might be interested.
That's good feedback. Yeah, certainly. We'll think about that, especially with our recycle coordinator.
It's the totes and eagles.
That's right.
Replace our tote bags that we give out at events with
Compost.
compost.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Get our
Brandon
college
for
to
it.
that too. Yeah, for sure. Okay, anything else on C and D and? The next item here, bears.
Speaking of compost,
Yeah,
I love it.
I just asked, this is not the best way to make public policy, but I read the Asheville Watchdog article a few weeks ago about bear activity. Just how, I don't know, folks seem like it's getting worse. I think that's true.
Most of the lead, it definitely got worse.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with that.
And I know that you can buy a bear cart through Asheville and pay more every month. And I know FCC has their bear cart program. And I guess if I just add it all up in my head, it's my opinion that we could be doing more to separate, human trash from bears. It just seems like that can't be the only solution. It's my,
Well, the bears have figured out how to get in them.
yeah,
I know somebody who watched a bear get into his church's bear-proof cans.
yeah. So I know there's like aftermarket retrofit kits, and that's really that's the extent of my knowledge. I have like retrofitted metal clasps on my city trash can, because I'm never going to pay the city extra money a month.
That's general sentiment.
That's just silly. I think that's the same. But I don't even understand. Yeah, so that's just my opinion, and I'm just curious what people think about what else we can do. It's obviously not one kind of silver bullet here, but what else can we do to kind of help people, I don't know, secure their trash, to separate it from bears, because it's just kind of, the bear population seems to be going up. So it seems like we're going to be talking about this more.
Yeah, that definitely seems to be the trend, Commissioner. Well, thank you for that. I've got just a few slides, general information. We've already hit on some of those. So, what's it, bring my laptop? Thank you. So, bear carts, as you mentioned, are available through FCC. The purchase option is currently at $320. They also do have a lease option at $10 additional per month. Just want to make sure that's clear that that's still the basic rate applies per month, which is $28.65 plus the $10 lease fee. So that would bring it to currently around $38.65 per month. Everybody, you've got the option, and people make the decision on that. The lease to me is appealing because, if my wheel gets damaged or the bear actually rips the side out of the car, it's on FCC to replace that. And I've seen some crazy stuff with bear carts. We say bear resistant, there is nothing, promise you, bear proof.
Because they rip the side out?
Rip the side of the car out.
Okay.
Oh,
I haven't seen that.
They're strong.
If they want in and they give themselves enough time, that they will get in. And so what we found though is the bear carts are effective because a lot of times they'll fool with it, they'll knock it down, they'll chew on it, they'll go on for an easier meal. I think that's part of the key. Chrissy, you've had personal
I can
experience with
attest.
bear carts, right?
Yes.
So they are effective.
Bear
I'll say
Yep.
He's going to go look for a non-bear resistant car. FCC currently has approximately 2,050 bear carts deployed in the county area, and we were really purposeful on the negotiation process because we knew how big of a deal this was for the bear carts and how we try to mitigate some of the issues that we're seeing. Prior to about 6 years ago, this was not a standard program at all. This came about when we transitioned to cart-based collection. We said, you know what? Everybody needs an option for bear carts. That's how this kind of started getting legs.
Well, and to your point, Dan, I'll just say the bear population may be increasing, but our population in the county is certainly increasing, right? So we're fanning out into bear country
Yes.
ourselves.
Oh, I see, yeah.
Absolutely.
That's right.
The less dense areas are great point, Christy. And so with that, we actually got a rate, we went back and forth with FCC during negotiations, got a rate that was actually less than the previous contract by about $2. So anything we could do to squeeze out a better, cheaper rate for folks who were trying to do that. Around 350 of the previous contracts of the Waste Pro carts that folks had purchased, those transitioned into the new contract. So if they had bought those at, I think it was about the same cost to purchase them, around $330. Those transition, FCC is emptying those carts. Let's see, so we do, it seems like it's not seems. It is a hot topic right now, hot ticket to get in on the wait list for bear cards. There's around 150 or so, that number grows every day, of folks on the FCC side that's waiting on bear cards. The last communication I got from FCC is the week of the 25th, so next week, following week. End of August is when those are scheduled to be here. And I think they can get around 250 cards on the load. So there is significant manufacturer lead times with this. We're running up against that. The city is as well.
There's a wait list for them too, right?
It is, and there's just a lead time getting those things manufactured. And it's multiple, right? Because the city uses Rarick. Good card. We've had experience with them. I like Toter. That's what we're using with the FCC contract, because that's what our standard cards are as well. They're the trash and recycle. But both those vendors are having delay issues. So that was communication. It's like, okay, we know what the lead time is. What's the reorder? Like, we don't want to run out. So what does that look like? Are we getting down to 100? And that's a reorder, because we know it's going to take 6 weeks. So those will have that point defined where you shall not be below. That's the goal. The city of Asheville, interesting enough, has approximately about the same amount of cards we have deployed at around 1,950. Talk about costs. Now we're talking about on the buyer side directly. So FCC's price, I'll say approximately, is around $235 per bear card right now. So when you compare that to a standard card, that's around $50. So you kind of see the difference in scale on the cost of those. And then the cost to put it together, assemble it, and actually deliver it to the customer, that's where we get to the $320. Now, if you were talking, if the county were to say, you know what, we're going to get everybody in this county a bear card. That's around 39,000 subscribers. And at the, if we had buying power at the $235 rate each, that'd be about $9.1 million to just provide bear cards across the board. As we know, that's not needed. There's no, I've seen one bear in my whole existence where I live on Jenkins Valley, like, yeah, just one. And that may not have been real. Tim, that might have been the costume bear. So yeah, I think it's the, Commissioner Wells, you sent out the ordinance in other areas, the region. It is a zone thing, right? We've got a lot of areas that's not even really a concern. And honestly, I talk to people in bear country that even adjacent to people that have issues that don't have issues, because
They don't put the food in the trash can until
Right.
they push it out that morning.
that goes a long ways, right? So they're expensive, and to your point earlier, Commissioner, they're not a bulletproof mechanism to stop bear activity, but they are very effective. I think we've got a couple more slides. So that's the toter card. That's what FCC is using currently. It's pretty cool, because any creature that does not have a thumb cannot open this thing, and even people that have thumbs, some can't open this thing. Somebody was telling about a situation. They had a cart, and I think it was a lady went out and was empty, and she got her fingernails caught in it. Both sets.
Oh, no.
So there was a lot of screaming and wailing, like, I can't get out of the car.
Oh, no.
I never heard of that. That was interesting.
Wow.
There's one knot on the sides, their typical patterns. They work the edges, and most of the time it's effective at keeping them out. Now you will have to pick it up and carry it. So
Is it heavier duty plastic, or is it just the locking mechanism?
it's a little bit on the resin side. It's a little bit heavier duty, not a whole lot, but it's. It is. Yeah, the lid is definitely substantial.
Yeah.
Right.
They don't have any carbon filter or anything in them to try to reduce bears being able to smell the stuff?
You always heard of ammonia. People use ammonia, that type of thing.
Yeah.
I've never seen that before. There may be, Jennifer, but not to my knowledge.
It's not a deterrent, bleach or ammonia.
Yeah.
They have bloodhound scents.
I meant like the cart itself had a filter in it, or like we talk about the compost bucket on your countertop has
Yeah.
the.
It's thought there's an idea.
That's
Am I right in assuming?
Just got a pen.
You didn't mention other municipalities, so Woodfin or White Mountain, they don't have bear card options, is that correct?
That's a good question. I can't remember if they do or not. I know the town of Black Mountain used to have West, they took over their own collections. I think they do in the town of Black Mountain, but we'll check with them.
What is it about these fabricated parts that the operators like? Like, why do they?
I started locking the collection side.
Yeah, what is it?
So
What's the deal that makes them want
the
to use
reason,
this solution?
yeah, and that's a good question. The reason they like them is we come across all kind of situations where folks have 3X logging chains. They have straps, screwed, glued, nailed, however you can think of configuration, right? And that's fine, right?
That's what my trash can is.
Right, until 7 o'clock on your day of collection. You chain that thing, but do whatever you gotta do, tie it to the tree. I don't care, keep it safe, preferably in the garage. But if you have to keep it outside, keep it chained up, but on that day of collection, see, a lot of these routes are automated, right? So they've got, you've seen the trucks, they drive down with them, we got one person, the arm comes out. For those, that's a one-off. So one-off. If those pile up on the route, they have to get out, move straps, it's not safe for the driver or the operator, and it just adds on time to the route where it makes it difficult to finish those things. So we encourage securing, whatever method is, it's not destructive to the cart, but on the day of collection, it really is important that the collection services can empty the cart. And with those, there's a ball bearing in the lid system and the latch, so that for those automated carts, when they tip, it's gravity lock. So that ball bearing activates the lock so it opens up. So that's why they really push those, because they know, number one, they can empty them, and number two, whenever they go to put those in gravity, put them in air, they'll well open up.
So the bears haven't figured out how to turn them upside down and shake them.
They'll throw them in a hot night. Yeah, they will pick them up, but it seems like from what I've seen, some of the videos I've seen, that without that mechanical jarring at that angle, that it's really hard for them to open. What I've seen.
I was interested in the ordinance. There was a community member that had been emailing me about fair activity again. And he had included some ordinances, and that's what Dan was referring to. I think there was, and I think Ashley in the Watchdog article, Ashley Hobbs, who spoke to us before,
Boulder and
she mentioned those two.
Yeah.
But the Boulder one, and I'm not saying we should do an ordinance, but when I was reading through them, what was interesting to me about the ordinance is like, because I told this community member what they just said, I said, it's not everywhere in the county that actually has this issue. So to me, doing some blanket ordinance over the whole county doesn't make sense in that kind of way.
Yeah.
But what was interesting too, when you read some of those ordinance language, they said, if you don't have to buy, they were saying you had to buy a bear cart if you were just gonna leave your trash out, basically, right? But if you just put your trash out the morning of the collection, you weren't having to do the bear cart. That was part of the fine language in there. And so that's what partly interested me, because that's part, if you're able to do, what's gonna limit the bear activity, right? They weren't forcing you to then have this bear cart. But if you weren't, then they're like, you're gonna have a bear cart. Now, in certain areas of Boulder, where it backs up right to all that open space land, I think they ended up having to, they did just force that perimeter to have it, because they're the ones that just run against.
And they have man-eating bears up there, right?
No, I used to live in Boulder, no.
Okay.
They're not.
The mountain lions are the man-eating things, and they come down to the yards too.
Okay.
But so that, I was trying to think about, okay, so what are the things that we could, I know we've done some education in the past. It sounds like we clearly need to do some more education around this. But also, like, what can we really try to encourage people to think about, right? Like, okay, not just throwing your food in there all week, right? Not just leaving it out by the roadside, right? Because, I mean, you could, to your point, I mean, I've seen it where people live next to each other and the bears go to the neighbors and throw it out the people who are just throwing the food in there every day, right? And they don't go to the neighbor who isn't doing that.
Right.
And so trying to build some awareness around that too, because I mean, in my opinion, we clearly can't, doesn't make sense for us to spend millions of dollars on buying bear carts, right? That is just not, in my opinion, not a smart investment. The ordinance, I'm like, okay, doing some countywide ordinance when it's not everybody having this issue, personally, I don't think it's necessarily the way to go. but trying to figure out, we clearly have a bear issue, so I'm like, what can we do around this? And if I remember correctly, when Ashley was here, she talked about the fact that it's partly the bears are having, one reason our population is increasing is they have access to all this food now, like, and they're having their babies more often as well. And so that's part of what's increasing that population. I mean, Ashley's the expert in it, but I believe that that's partly what she shared with us when she came before.
It's like a cycle. The food is,
So,
going to increase the population.
so we are building into their habitat, as you said, but also the bear population is increasing, if I'm remembering correctly, because of this access to more human food.
So I think that the idea of targeting these areas is key. So I live out in Webster. I live behind the post office. We have a bear come through maybe 2 or 3 times a year. Usually it's when the young males are being taken out of the home, and we'll see them. We've never had a bear issue. Never. Actually, when I bought the house, the neighbors are telling me we've never ever had a bear issue, but they're starting to become more frequent. But I think our houses are not dense. So from my experience backpacking, I always stayed away from the shelters because that's where the bears are, because there's always somebody who doesn't figure out how to put their food in whatever. So I think it's the population dense areas where you're always going to have somebody who doesn't do all these things, and that attracts the bears. Otherwise, they just move on.
Easier food.
Yeah, there's easier food. I mean, so, by focusing on population dense areas and recognizing you're not going to reach everybody, how do we, and that may be some discussion with a wildlife biologist too,
Where geography is.
Yeah.
They don't hear about it in Arden.
You're going to hear about the idiots just like you had last year, the people who picked up the bear cubs and pulled it over the fence. All right, there's clueless people. Clueless, idiotic people, or don't pet the fuzzy bison or whatever.
You're right. They're out there.
We have to recognize that, and those are the people who are attracting the bears.
When I think about the areas where I get the emails the most out of my district, I think it's kind of up in that Riceville area.
Mhm.
Up in that area, is that what you're sensing too, David?
Oh, absolutely.
That's so interesting, okay.
Yeah.
Riceville, Black Mountain, Barnesville's got quite a few bears. Fairview's got a ton of bears. And that's something, Ashley Hobbs, we talked to her often. Actually, Cassie's working with her right now on our compost sheds, because we're having challenges there too. Bears want to get into the compost, right?
Yeah.
So Ashley's great, and that's what we talked about was, Ashley, where are you getting, because they get calls.
Yeah.
People call, hey, I got a bear issue. So trying to understand that data too, is where they're getting complaints and where the problematic areas are for bears. I think a heat map type thing would be, if we could work towards developing something like that, and then understanding the population, like you said, the dense areas within those, that seems to be, would be helpful. And I know October 7th, FCC is on the commissioner's agenda. Tentatively, maybe the second floor could be the second meeting, but they're wanting to come and basically talk about some of the same things.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Is it October 7th?
October 7th, okay. Yes. Your first meeting. So I just know that's on there.
I wonder, and this probably be a question I'll ask them too, just wonder if there's other than the ordinances, is there another town like Roanoke, Virginia, or some other place that's similar to us in terms of the bear problem? A, does that exist? I don't know. And B, are they trying other things? Because it seems like, okay, it's the expensive monthly fee cart. That's a solution. And then there's education. Is there something in between the promising?
Try Cumberland, Maryland, or Frederick, Maryland, because bear population's exploding up there.
Yeah.
They're even walking down to the White House.
Oh, yeah.
What part of Maryland did you say?
So Cumberland is in the mountains.
Oh, yeah, no.
And Frederick is right next to the mountains.
When I lived in Aspen, we did a lot with bears too. There was a lot of public education and bear cards. We did it all. They were coming down into town, getting in dumpsters. So we've done a lot.
There's a lot less bear hunters too. I mean, really, when I grew up, we all bear hunted. You know, and that just, you don't get that type of pressure anymore, to help manage some of that.
Well, you can't hunt in dense neighborhoods.
No, but they don't, you know, a lot of times they don't let you know.
Yeah.
You can get on.
I mean, that was the issue with deer in Maryland, where it was literally the deer were starving to death from overpopulation.
Right.
They actually opened up hunting in neighborhood parks with art, you know.
Yeah.
But, you know, not gonna shoot a bear with an arrow.
Not an arrow.
I just make them mad.
I'd be curious on the education side, just get a little bit more detailed, because, you know, Dan, you said a few things that aren't on this list that some folks may not find palatable, but, you know, if you don't put your food scraps in the can, like, it's much less attractive. They're not interested.
You have to have a place in your house to put it.
In the
That's right.
freezer.
And then the
What
freezer
you
is
do
what
is you
most-
put it in the freezer
That's what
and
most
then you
people
take it
do.
out
Yeah.
that day.
And, you know, that's a solution for some people won't do it, of course. And then, you know, if you have the ability to store, you know, in an outbuilding or a garage, like I know not everyone has, but those are solutions that some people do have and probably haven't fully tried.
Right.
Most people don't have teenagers. Like, they walk in my kitchen and there's like an entire meal just sitting in the trash, I'm like, what? Why?
Yeah, teenagers.
Yeah.
That's along with the goes along with don't pet the fuzzy cows.
Yeah.
Okay. They're either eating everything or they're not hungry at all for days.
Yeah.
We don't have a bear problem yet.
Okay, well, let's keep talking about that. There's something we're missing,
Yeah.
I think.
One of us in here needs to invent something.
Yeah.
There's opportunity, right?
Okay.
Jennifer, I'm gonna,
I know, coming
I'm
soon.
gonna patent the carbon vapor layer.
Yeah, I paid like $50 at Ace for one of those, black, like rubber band things.
Fair.
Laughing.
Oh, yeah. It's like rubber bands.
Yeah.
I used to do field research, and the issue was, no matter how much you built a bear, you come along, they can take a PVC pipe and twist it in shapes that I can't imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and the criminal had to do that. Without thumbs.
Yeah.
So we need to spend 5 minutes on, member reappointments here. Who is the staff kind of keeper of the, is it you guys in terms of like following along whose terms are what?
Stacy.
Okay. Oh, right, of course, okay. Well, it looks like Josh and Chris's term expired in July. And so I think that's the primary purpose of this agenda item. For the moment, we've heard from, Chris, or is it you, Josh, that you're interested in staying?
So I'm interested in staying, but we don't have a quorum to vote, right?
We do.
Now we do.
We do.
You made
I
it.
vote on myself.
Can you vote on yourself? Yeah.
Both of them expressed interest.
Okay, great. Let me read the rest of my notes here again.
So I'll make a motion to
For it.
reappoint a person that
Second.
is, yeah. so
Yes.
I'll-
Do we have a motion to reappoint both Josh Littlejohn and Chris Link?
Yes.
Seconded.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Awesome. Okay.
And I'll update Stacy.
Awesome. Okay. It looks like, just FYI, Bob, your term expires in July next year, 2026.
Stay on, again.
And we'll get to that when we need to. And, okay, so yeah, today's motion will go on to the full board of commissioners for formal approval later. No, it's all,
Maggie and Bob.
yeah, Maggie, yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
I'll let Maggie know next time I see her. That's it on the reappointment thing. from my perspective. All right, any other announcements? Questions, thoughts? Okay. Motion for adjournment would be.
So moved.
Oh, no, because this would be the earliest we've ever finished this meeting.
I know.
I think that brings us up. Is that the problem?
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Our next one is the third Friday of November.